Well, I hope you found that interesting. It was enjoyable to do that with Dave, and we even have more in the can, so you might see him come again. But others, as you come into town, we might ask you about your collecting habits, and we'll find other people as well. Here is the book, Mr. Lincoln's book that Dave Leroy wrote, and it's about the actual writing of the political debates between Lincoln and Douglas of 1860 and how that came about. Fascinating. And also there's a listing of all the 42 known books that were signed by Lincoln of the Lincoln-Douglas debates. We have one as well in our vaults right now if you have an interest in seeing what that is. Now here's the next segment that we're going to get into called What Is It Worth? And there are many different values for things, and how we get into a value is, of course, on content. That's one of the basic pieces about what value puts a market value on a piece. Certainly condition is part of it. Whom it is. It's one thing to be Millard Fillmore, another one to be Abraham Lincoln. So the same piece for Millard Fillmore or Abraham Lincoln might be vastly different. Here's a good example, and a fix the seal document that was a very common document, plain, that Lincoln had to produce, and all the presidents from Fillmore through, we see it certainly through Grant and Hayes, in order to affix a seal of the United States to something. And this is a good way to show what a market value is. First of all, Millard Fillmore on a piece like this might be a few $100s, mid-hundreds somewhere. The normal Lincoln, and here he is pardoning some people, but in the normal Lincoln, where maybe he's affixing the seal, ordering it to be done, to a letter going to the Empress of Prussia on the birth, and congratulating her on the birth of a daughter. And so here's the order to affix a seal. He must put his full Abraham Lincoln on their name because it's an official document, which he did on all official documents. Otherwise, he himself put A. Lincoln or sometimes an A.L., but mainly A. Lincoln. So here, though, the usual one, as I've talked about, will go for Lincoln right now, about $8,500. That's usually what an affix a seal document is, condition being good. Here's one, though. I have a $12,500 because it's for a pardon. Well, he's known as a pardoner, the great pardoner, so I think that gives it a little bit of shrift. Sometime years ago, I had actually had one where it just said, my proclamation. The clerk is the one who always puts in what it's for. Lincoln only signs it. He doesn't even date it. The clerk does that. So I had one where it said my proclamation, and from the date, it was readily available that it was for the proclamation of Thanksgiving, placing it on the third Friday of Thursday of November permanently, and so that's what he was doing there. I sold that years ago for $36,000. Wish I had it back. Another one, the exact same as that, it said, my proclamation. That one actually went for almost $1 million to the Chicago History Museum because that proclamation was Emancipation Proclamation. So, Emancipation Proclamation is the content. Same document, same look, but for emancipation, almost $1 million versus the usual for $8,500. That's how content can make things go up and down. Now, as far as artifacts are concerned that we collect, we'd like to make you a bit a part of this show. And so we're requesting that collectors, you, maybe email into us a description and a very clear, high-quality image of one item that you might have that you think is interesting, or you'd like to know more about, and you'd like to ask the Artifact Whisperer more about it. It's what its market value is, what it maybe means. So give us a good description, condition, size, provenance, and we'll pick one or two maybe for our subsequent shows. So if you're going to do that, again, email at info@artifactwhisperer.com. info@artifactwhisperer.com. Now, I was going to say at this point that I'd like you to email in while we're live if you have a question or a comment. And sure enough, without prompting, someone did that, except did not give your first name or where you're from, which we'd like to have. So please, from now on, if you're going to email in to us while we're live, let us know who we're talking to and where you're from. So here is the question that came in. What is the most prized piece from my collection? Well, That's pretty easy, at least currently. Here is a piece I've had for a little while that is the only known example of Lincoln misspelling his own name. He was writing an endorsement, and he just got lost in his signature, and the O and the L got turned around, Linklon, and and then he crossed it out, and kind of, I think a little angrily, what I kind of read into that next signature, he wrote it out again. I do it because that second A there is a little more rounded, and he had the ability to make his name exactly the same, but I think here he got upset at himself for doing that, crossed it out, and did it again until he got it right, So that's my most prized. I don't know, maybe I should say what I think it's even worth. I would think that this is a good $35,000 piece. You don't see anything like this. In fact, they tell me at the papers of Abraham Lincoln down in Springfield that there is no other known misspelling of his name. So there's my most prized possession, and at the moment not for sale, probably won't be for some time either. I have too much fun describing it to you. Now we're getting close to the end now, and we have the next segment is the artifact question for the next show. And we're going to give you a question each time and have you send in answers to that info at artifactwhisperer.com. And we will pick the winner each time. We'll put them all into a stovepipe hat, and we'll pick out from the winners one person who's going to get a prize. In this case, here it is, Carolyn Kennedy's book. She came to my hometown library, and here are some poems that she had put into a book. She's done poetry before, and this one are poems that should be shared with the family, that can be memorized, as she was doing throughout her life. So this is signed, a first edition. I'll give you one poem that's in here called The Parent by Ogden Nash. Children aren't happy with nothing to ignore, and that's what parents were created for. So I hope one of you will win this. Here is the artifact that we're going to show that will be questioned, and this is a military commission that was signed by Abraham Lincoln. It's on vellum, of course, and he signed close to 25,000 of these things. So our questions for next time is, what two men together signed as many military commissions as did Lincoln? He signed every one of them, Lincoln did. Now there are two correct answers to this. So what two men together signed as many military commissions as did Lincoln? And good luck. You'll have a chance to get that book by Caroline Kennedy. And again, at info@artifactwhisperer.com. Now we want to quickly show you what we're going to have as our featured artifact next time. And it's going to be Civil War books. I just brought out a few very quickly to show you. Here is first edition of Longstreet's Appomattox, Manassas to Appomattox, a wonderful book with a beautiful cover. I've only seen, there's a limited edition of 150 of them, I think. I've only seen two. Here's another one, A Story of the War by Louisiana soldier Napier Bartlett. But this is unusual. You've never seen this. I've only seen this once before that I've handled, and I've only seen perhaps 4, maybe 5, I don't think so, of these, because these are the first editions that actually had photographs, and you'll see more about them next time. And another one we'll probably show is this wonderful pamphlet that is from the battlefield of Gettysburg, New York, 1863, called The Oration at the Battlefield. And it's really Edward Everett, whom they're admiringly put on the cover, but they really also have the Gettysburg Address in there too. And besides the newspapers, this really is tied for the first separate or pamphlet or book printing of the Gettysburg Address. And so this is pretty rare, actually, and I'd say that as something that's rare. So we'll talk about those and other Civil War books in our next broadcast, and that will be our featured segment. Well, I guess we've come to the end of Artifact Whisperer. I think I'm about 15 minutes more than I would have liked to have been, but I hope you've had a good time with our premiere show. If you have suggestions or comments, again, email in to us. And also watch our sister broadcast, Virtual Book Signing. You can watch that at virtualbooksigning.net. And our next show is going to feature Alan Guelzo, Tuesday, May 21st at 6 p.m. Central Time, with the world premiere of his book for the 150th anniversary of the battle called Gettysburg, The Last Invasion. It's a wonderful book. I'm halfway through it now, and we're going to discuss that. Hope you'll watch our virtual book signing as well. So watch for emails for our next broadcast of the Artifact Whisperer, which we hope to have on a monthly basis. And moi, the Artifact Whisperer, appreciates your listening in. Thank you.